Happy Sunday, my good people. Welcome to the Breaking Chains Book Club, where we are continuing to read the Idaho 4, An American Tragedy. I hope this stream finds you well. There's a couple things I want to go through before we jump into the book. But first, I'm going to bring up my lovely co-reader, Cinnamon Girl. How are you doing?
Hi, Lynn. I'm good. How are you? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you. Hello, Mona Lisa. Count with the countdown. So, man, this was quite a week. Quite a week in true crime. We had the Bryan Kohberger sentencing, which I'm going to show a little bit of, and also the Lori Vallow sentencing in Arizona for the trial of, it was mostly the Brandon Boudreaux trial, her attempted murder of him. And both of those sentencings, I got to tell you, my world was rocked with how emotional and raw and angry and everything was. And that's why when I go to cover these things, I try to hone in on the effect of media. And hey, Sharon, nice to see you. It's been a little while. The effect of media on the families and the effect of, just being put through this rigorous process of, trying to convict a killer is so incredibly torturous for the families that go through it, because not only are they having to withstand the fact that the courts are going to try to protect the criminal, right? But then I'm just going to call it this. Then you have these pro-crime YouTube and TikTok and whatever channels, right? Social media channels. And I'm starting to call them pro-crime, okay? Because what ended up happening in the Kohberger case was, because there was a gag order on the information, the families, mostly the police and the lawyers, could not speak out whatsoever, couldn't release information unless it was leaked to, a major streaming service or something, right? But they're put through this torturous process of having to be quiet while all these channels are making up insane conspiracy theories to try to exonerate Bryan Kohberger. And, at first you can understand that. At first it's like, all right, well, maybe he looks a little bit weird, but we don't know that he committed the crime. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. But then the more evidence comes out and the more it implicates him, they continue to circle their wagons and say, well, he's still, he's innocent. And I'm going to find out why this particular thing, the DNA thing on the knife sheath, that means nothing because all this other shit was going on, right? Like, they go out of their way to defend this guy who very much seems like he's guilty. And even after the sentencing, a lot of them are still calling the police corrupt and saying it was a shoddy investigation and whatever. They're entitled to that. But what it causes for the families, it breaks my heart to see what families have to ignore. Because this is such a huge case, and so many channels rose in major ways in subscribers and views and everything. They built their channels on this case, making shit up, right? To the point where the family members start getting attacked, and the police, and sometimes the attacks are warranted on, law enforcement, but a lot of the attacks are not. They go way too far. And so that's why, instead of calling them pro-burger channels, I'm calling them pro-crime channels, because it's like, hey, we got a crime here. We know it's looking more and more like this guy is guilty, but we're still going to find ways to make him innocent. Well, now you're pro-crime. Now you're not about justice. And I see that. I'm not going to go into a whole nother thing about Epstein, but I've been digging very deep, and this is my method with, when I start to decide that I want to potentially create content about a subject, I go deep and I learn as much as I can about the situation before I start making videos about it, right? And I also have a bunch of other stuff going on in my real life that's making me real busy. Hey, Liberty, that's making me real busy, so I can't be dedicating all my time to YouTube stuff right now for another couple weeks or a few weeks. But I'm spending my time away looking deeper and deeper into this whole Epstein situation. And again, people circle the wagons for fucking Epstein because it's a political debate. And for me, it's not political. If you are defending in any way any human being who might have been involved in Epstein, you are pro-crime. I mean, that's just all there is to it. If you're defending anybody, if you're circling the wagons for anybody who seems to be implicated in the Epstein files, you are pro-crime, because you're saying, well, we only want to finger these particular people and not these particular people. Let me tell you something. If my mom was implicated, I would want to see justice. If my brother was implicated, I would want to see justice. I wouldn't be fucking circling the wagons for him, right? So that's why I wanted to show you just a couple of very particular things in the that was part of the sentencing and some of the reactions to after the sentencing, and show you the type of thing that talk to you about why I'm here to kind of try to break chains. I hope this all makes sense to you guys. But what I want to first want to show you is just this one real quick clip talking about how during the sentencing of Bryan Kohberger, this man who viciously, I mean, the things that are coming out, that's the other thing that's been really heavy in true crime this week, is that as soon as that Bryan Kohberger sentencing happened, they started releasing more materials, and it is absolutely shocking what happened to these kids, especially Kaylee. Because Kaylee was, and trigger warning, was stabbed in the face many times. Her face was completely disfigured. The police didn't even know what they were looking at. Okay. So when you consider that this poor young woman, and the family knew this they knew parts of it. I don't think they knew about her face, but you can imagine their absolute anger. And when, but the families, they get no quarter. Hey, Adrian, nice to see you. They get no grace. The families are not sacred. They still get attacked. So I want to show you what happened. I don't know if any of you saw this. What happened during the sentencing is Kaylee's mom received a threatening text. And that has to be generated by somebody who is either perpetrating these conspiracy theories or has incited people to believe in these conspiracy theories, because it's disgusting what happens to families. So let me just show you this real quick.
And I kind of figured something bad was going on, and it turns out that it was a threatening text message that she had received during the actual sentencing while the victim impact statements were going on. And I don't want to read the whole thing because I just don't want to give glory to, whoever did this, but I do want to read a little bit so people can see what exactly happened. It says, sitting near you in court and watching you is a joke. You know that Bryan is innocent, making threats to Bryan about getting raped in prison was very silly. I am in contact with a lot of serial killers, including BTK, and I've been put in contact with a wannabe serial killer who is in Moscow, Idaho, and I have given him your address.
What the fuck? What the fuck? So probably this person wasn't sitting near her in court, right? It was probably somebody watching from, from the stream. But they come right out and say, you know that he's innocent. I'm sitting here watching. They're wanting to scare her. They're wanting to, they're literally putting out a death threat on her by saying on them, the family. And it's because what? During the sentencing, they said, the Gonsalves family was very aggressive in their statements, and they implied more than once that he's going to get his prison justice, and they were okay with that. That to some idiot on the internet who's watching and has probably been part of one of these pro-crime channels needs to threaten them because they get during their one chance to address the killer of their child, they suggest that he might get prison justice. That's fucking outrageous that the families have to go through this kind of shit. Okay, I'm done. I'm for now. Anything you want to add to that, Cinnamon Girl?
Well, that was a lot.
yeah, I know. I came out. I came in 38 hot. This is what I hone in on. I know that everybody else is covering, how gruesome the murders were. Yes. And for me, it's also how incredibly horrific the internet and people watching the internet are to the families.
Oh, it's vile. It's vile. And, if I remember correctly, this is not the first threat that they've gotten, the Gonsalves family.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Christy reported that someone had told her something like, your daughter deserved what she got. And I can't even imagine having to be, to be harassed like that with, those vile and cruel messages. But the conspiracy theories, it's online abuse. Here's a family that's grieving and trying to seek justice, right? And yes, they were particularly vocal. So it makes them more visible and I guess, more vulnerable. But even so, the public scrutiny and the cruel messages, it's unbelievable.
And the other thing you have to think about too is this is a text message that was sent directly to her during the sentencing. That's one of the things that makes it so shocking,
It was shocking. Yeah.
But also, how the hell did they get her phone number? How the hell did they? And it was probably one of these pro-crime channels doxing them.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's right, Ann Vroom. I've never seen you here, but agreed. I totally agree. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. And this is one of those things I feel so strongly about, but so powerless about. And that's why I get so angry about it. I wish there was something we could do to protect these families. I mean, I'm sure that they went through this in some measure, before the internet, but now it's just, we weren't built to withstand the kind of attention, the amount of attention we can get from the internet. And when it's especially when you didn't ask for that attention, you are thrown into the public eye because somebody murdered your child or murdered your friend or murdered you're a witness in that or something. And so this was attention that you didn't want, but now you're being attacked. And at the same time, you're going through the absolute worst part of your life, the worst tragedy. I don't know if you all watched Dylan Mortenson's victim impact statement, but it was absolutely heartbreaking because she was sitting there having a panic attack. Basically during her speech, she could barely breathe. And a lot of that is because of the fucking way she was treated as a surviving roommate. She was barely 19 years old when all this happened. And they made her into a villain and called her a man and, just said disgusting things about her. And, not only did they do that, but their channels blew up in numbers. They became popular doing those things. That's what drives me crazy. But I also want to show you one other thing. I thought the judges, a lot of what the judge said during the sentencing was very profound. But there's one, I think that this moment I'm about to show you, he is speaking directly to the pro-crime channels and the pro-crime media who tried to circle the wagons and make Bryan Kohberger not guilty. But he also talks about, he gives a very good explanation to people that, sometimes we just don't get to know what the why is. We want to know why, but sometimes we just don't get to know. So, and I thought this is important because, one of the reasons I wanted to read this book is to help to figure out why. But I want you all to know, and that's why I put a big why on the thumbnail. But I want you all to know we're never, ever going to know the real reason why. We can only observe all the facts and the information that is brought to us, and then come up with a collective, probably good idea of why. But let the judge tell you why we're never going to know the why. And by the way, I watched Bryan Kohberger's face and his body language very closely during this. And the only time he really made any sort of face or gesture that revealed what was going on in him was when he was directly insulted. When he was called something, but otherwise he was fucking stone-faced. And this is just one other, yes, scary as fuck, Sharon. And this is just another example of how we can tell that this guy is guilty as fuck, is that you can't see a morsel of emotion on this guy, a morsel of remorse, nothing. He sat there just stone-faced while most of us, probably watching were ugly crying. Yeah. Absolutely, Bubbles Pondu. Okay, so let's watch this.
None of us have experienced the loss these victims have in the unspeakable way that they have. And therefore, none of us can, nor should we, question the way in which they have handled their loss. Whether that be in private mourning, removed as far as possible from this media circus, or in front of a camera demanding retribution with the loudest megaphone. I've listened intently to the stories and pain that have been shared today with great awe at the courage and resilience of the surviving family members of those wonderful children.
The emotion coming through the judge's voice was also very touching to me. I don't think I've seen a judge be so emotional. Hello, Michelle. Welcome. I'm glad you found where the noise was coming from.
I've listened also to the surviving roommates, both in person and through their friends. And I can't think of how, frankly, courageous they have been despite the hell that they have faced.
And he's speaking directly there of the hell they face because of all the conspiracy bullshit. Oh, welcome to memberships. Welcome to being a fire-breathing chain breaker, Michelle. Just for that, you get this. We gonna break some chains. All right. Yeah, same here, little horses. Lori Vallow's judge, man, I can't believe. Hey, Music City Mom, I can't believe. I have so much respect for those judges. I really do. I really do. But here, let's keep going.
By uncaring people who have come up with all kinds of crazy theories about two kids simply being kids.
Yep. Just because those roommates didn't immediately jump up and call 911, they were the fodder of sustained 2-year-long absolute fucking abuse from this platform and other platforms, and it was really, really, really hard to see. It's pretty much hot everywhere, but I hope you're able to be in a cool place and drink lots of liquids, Michelle.
The parents, siblings, and other family members who have spoken today are designated as victims in our legal system. But going forward, I hope that they can shed that label, as it gives too much power to the evil that condemned them to that role.
Yep.
They are and should be known as survivors, fighters, and foremost as witnesses to the tremendous lives of value and unbounded promise of these 4 young people.
He's trying to tell the internet, stop seeing them as villains, see them as unwanted, people who were victims not by their own choice. They're survivors, they are fighters, they are warriors. And if it wasn't for Dylan Mortensen's testimony about his eyebrows that he apparently shaved off for some reason, probably because of her testimony, he may not have, besides that and the knife sheath, he might not have been caught.
But those speaking today and those who did not speak, but who carry the same burden, this same loss, now carry forward the memories of these now perpetually young people, these forever children. These survivors carry the responsibility of ensuring that the voices of these children, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, are never forgotten, and the positive impacts that they have had on so many lives are never minimized, and that the love they shared, the light that they shined onto others, is forever celebrated. As we sit here today, this case is ending, and we are now certain who committed these unspeakable acts of evil, but we don't know, and what we may never know is why. I share the desire expressed by others to understand the why, but upon reflection, it seems to me, and this is just my own opinion, that by continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance. We give him agency and we give him power. The need to know what is inherently not understandable makes us dependent upon the defendant to provide us with a reason, and that gives him the spotlight, the attention, and the power he appears to crave. Yet even if I could force him to speak, which legally I cannot, how could anyone ever be assured that what he speaks is the truth?
And that is just so poignant right there, you guys. We know that even if we could sit down and have an hour-long conversation with Bryan Kohberger, it's going to be through his skewed, warped brain. And he's probably not going to tell the entire truth. Just like, if you want an example of what we could get from a killer like Bryan Kohberger, just watch the Lori Vallow sentencing, where she rambles on and on and on and on and on, saying that this was a family tragedy and she's a victim. Lori Vallow is a victim. And she maintains that she's going to be out of that prison system, her and her husband, within the year. So I just think unfortunately, when you have a person like this who is so demented, so sick, you're not going to get the why out of him. the why is important, but I agree that the why is important because sometimes you can't even explain why something happened without understanding what a motive was. But in some cases, like with this one, I just don't think we would ever get an answer from him. I don't think we would get a straight answer. We'd like to maybe know what his answer would be, but he has the right not to speak. And that's just the way it is, you know? And by the way, the person who said that they live in the desert in Cali, oh yeah, here. You're in the desert and it's 82. That is remarkable in July because I have family in the desert, Bubbles Pondu. And usually we avoided going there in these deep summer months because it was over 100 degrees. So that's interesting. Anyway, so it must be very nice out there. Anyway, it's just, I think that people have criticisms for this judge. People have criticisms for the prosecutor. I understand all those criticisms. No one's going to be happy in these situations. And I understand the need for people to have a fair trial, but sometimes the courts it feels like they go a little too far, in protecting it. It feels like the victims aren't as protected as the criminal or the suspected criminal. So that's what's yeah, and that's the other point, Ann Vroom, that the judge makes is that even with the answers, nobody's going to say, oh yeah, well that makes total sense to me. Nothing could explain this level of treachery and heinousness. So well, my family loved it in the desert, but my son just graduated from Colorado and he loves it there in Colorado. So I don't blame you for aiming for that. Anyway, one thing I did learn from Michelle, was BK's road that led him to becoming someone capable of these murders with treating the conditions he had and harm reduction for his heroin addiction. No, I don't think so. For someone to do something this heinous, it can't be explained away by drugs. It's like his inherent nature that led him to do those things. When something is that hard bubble, I'm sure that there were certain things that happened along the way, but usually, people were born with certain inclinations, and then those inclinations are triggered by our life experiences, So anyway, I might be not totally interpreting that the way you meant it, but anyway, we are here to continue reading the book by Vicky Ward and John Patterson. Wait, did I say that? James Patterson. Sorry, y'all.
You were close.
Yeah. We're currently on chapter 9. We read the first several chapters last week. And we'll get through as much as we can, see how good it feels. So sit back and relax and enjoy my lovely co-reader's voice and mine to a certain extent, but everybody loves Cinnamon's voice.
Oh, thank you guys.
And why don't we have, I just want to remind you all, thank you for being here. Please hit the like button when you have a moment and sit back, drink some coffee, do whatever you do on a lazy Sunday, and we shall begin reading for you. Let me just put this big on the screen, and you go ahead and start this.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We're on chapter 9, Boise, Idaho, April 2022. It's nearly midnight when Karen Allant wakes to her ringing phone. The caller ID says it's Xana. Karen's blood runs cold, as any mother's would. Is Xana okay? Is her daughter Emily okay? She picks up, panicked. Mama Karen, guess what? Says Xana casually, as if the late hour were completely irrelevant. Xana, you scared me half to death. Do you know what time it is? Karen asks. Xana just laughs. Karen relaxes in spite of herself. How distinct and rich and simply full of joy Xana's laugh is. I want you to be the first to know. I've got a boyfriend. Karen giggles at the needlessness of this conversation. It's been obvious to everyone that Xana and Ethan are on the cusp of something, but she plays the game. How did the talk go? Did you guys sit down and discuss it seriously?
Xana spills the details. No, it was easy. We didn't need a big talk. It just happened naturally. Xana is a free spirit. Karen sees the relationship as a sign she's growing up. In fact, all the Shark Tank girls are growing up, forming committed attachments. Emily has begun to date Hunter Johnson. Josie is seeing another Delt, Lincoln Beck. Karen is thrilled that Xana feels able to share this moment with her. She has developed strong maternal feelings toward this exuberant, effervescent young woman who is so passionate, so resilient, so unself-pitying, despite a difficult upbringing. Xana doesn't talk much about having grown up without a mother, but the signs of loneliness are there for them all to see. Emily could sense that Xana's home life wasn't exactly the most orderly. Sometimes Xana drives over to Pullman where her older sister Jasmine, Jazzy, is studying marketing at Washington State. Jazzy, petite and pretty, is the sensible one. Xana idolizes her big sister and wants to follow in her footsteps. Jazzy also has nice stuff. So when Xana and Emily visit her in her dorm room, Emily knows that she's supposed to chat with Jazzy to distract her while Xana filches a skirt or whatever she needs from her sister's closet. Oh my gosh. Girls, sisters, sisters. In the hi-fi house, Xana has mismatched bedding, few clothes. Emily teaches Xana how to do her makeup, how to use a curling iron, skills that the other girls learned years ago, but that no one has ever taught Xana. Before their first Christmas break, Emily noticed that Xana was the only one not packing. Xana, she said, where are you going for winter break?
Xana shrugged and said she didn't know. Her dad, Jeff, might not be home. She didn't know his new girlfriend, and she didn't much like her room in the basement. That first Christmas, Emily invited her home to Boise to hang with her parents, Matt, an Army veteran, and Karen, a pretty blonde who was a dead ringer for her daughter. At first, the Alants didn't know what to make of this free-spirited young woman their daughter had brought home. But Xana, with her expressive hand movements, her open personality, had a talent for winning people over, making everyone laugh. Now Xana regularly stays with the Alants during breaks. Karen looks forward to their 11 p.m. phone calls. She comes to visit the girls in the Shark Tank and goes out with them sometimes. Karen starts to consider Xana a second daughter. After Xana hangs up with Karen, she finds Emily and gives her the news. You told my mom first, you bitch, Emily says with a laugh, then gives Xana a hug.
Just real quick before we jump into this chapter, Xana's mother gave a victim impact speech, and so did her sister Jazzy. And it was honestly nice to see her in the mom doing so well, because when this first happened, she was clearly still in her addiction, and she got contacted by several channels, and she interviewed with a few of them, and you could tell that they were really just using her vulnerability. They probably paid her because she was active in her addiction, and now it appears that she's really cleaned herself up, and she's become a very devout Christian, which is nice. But also, you also think to yourself, my gosh, where were you, lady? I'm not trying to I'm not trying to vilify her mother, but it seems like she really didn't have much of a life with her mother before any of this, and I'm very, very sorry for her mother's loss, but also it was hard to watch Xana's family, because I knew that Xana, it felt like Xana was, really just kind of tossed around and had a really hard life, and I'd like to understand more about Xana and how she was able to get to college despite that upbringing, because I know how, from personal experience, how hard that can be to push yourself into college when you are lacking a family member that's there to help you. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that before we keep going.
No, I think you kind of said it all. It's I know it does pull at your heart. And I think the fact that she found some solace with the other family, I think that was good for her. She had a place to go, and with a family that was somewhat normal. But yeah, I know it's a hard situation. That one's really tough.
Yeah. All right, continuing to read. Chapter 10, Priest Lake, Idaho, summer 2022. It's 4 p.m. and Ethan Chapin is finishing up his shift as a server at the Hills Resort restaurant, nestled on beautiful Priest Lake up in the Idaho mountains. The sparkling water with its snow-crested surroundings got its name from the Jesuit missionaries who once lived there. The Chapins have two homes, one in Mount Vernon near Seattle and a summer house on Priest Lake. His mom came here as a little girl, and he and his family have been coming here all his life. There's nowhere Ethan would rather be. He yells to Hunter, and the two head to his favorite place within his favorite place, the resort's sand volleyball court, right on the shore in front of the resort's bar and restaurant. The community is tight. No one locks their doors. People call one another by their first names. Ethan knocks on the door of cabin 101, which belongs to the Zilak family. It's a running joke that the Zilaks are uber competitive. Ethan's ideal matchup is the 6 Zilak kids versus everyone else. Whatever the numbers, he finds a way to make a game of it.
Once on the volleyball court, he strips off his shirt and takes his position. He and Hunter hit the ball back and forth over the net while a little crowd, including their parents, Jim and Stacy, and this summer Xana, gathers to watch the magnificent sight of Ethan in full athlete mode. He jumps, he sets, he dives, he spikes, a mythic Greek god in action. Ethan made varsity basketball as a high school freshman, but COVID restrictions deprived him of crucial competitive seasons that would have prepped him to play at the college level. Over the summer, the Chapin triplets worked at Hills Resort, which was full to bursting with people wanting a rural escape. This time together made the trio realize they wanted to attend the same college, and they needed it to be east of the mountains, and they wanted to be involved in Greek life to keep the small family feeling that they were used to at home. UI was an easy decision. WSU felt vast when they visited. By comparison, Greek Row at UI felt so small and bucolic, it was like a private school. Their mom, Stacy, a former school principal and a Greek life alum at the University of Puget Sound, was relieved that her children would experience a safety net and type of community that had been such a welcome part of her own college years. Now, as Stacy watches her son leap around on the volleyball court, she's filled with pride. UI has been exactly the nurturing place she wanted for them. They're thriving. Her husband, Jim, who believes Stacy's judgment is consistently rock solid, agrees.
After the game, Jim, Stacy, Hunter, Maisie, Ethan, and Xana sprint to the boat Jim recently bought to satisfy his kids' love of the water. They turn the music up high, blasting out Morgan Wallen's last album, and Jim drives the boat while the kids take turns waterboarding and sipping drinks from the cooler. Ethan and Hunter love boarding so much that early every morning, they stuff their work clothes into their backpacks and go out on the water, coming back with only 5 minutes to spare before their shifts. Jim drops them at the dock and they sprint barefoot to their posts. This summer, Ethan has been inseparable from Xana, who's been staying with the Chapins most of the time. Stacy can see immediately that her son is serious about this carefree young woman. The Chapins happily welcome her as one of their own. Changes are ahead for the upcoming fall semester. Xana is moving from Shark Tank into a rental house on King Road. Stacy and Jim have rented Ethan an apartment in Moscow. The Sigma Chi president told Ethan that frat brothers who are double deficient, that is, with a GPA below 2.75 for 2 consecutive semesters, have to live outside the house. Stacy's only concern about her oldest triplet is how far his grades have slipped. Though she suspects Ethan will stay most nights with Xana, she knows that the forced separation from his fraternity brothers will motivate him to raise his grades high enough to return to the Sigma Chi house. In the boat, the wind whips up and the sun slowly starts to redden and sink low into the horizon.
Jim turns the boat toward the shore. Ethan turns the volume one notch higher, and they head home listening to Morgan Wallen's Heartless. If this isn't paradise, Stacy thinks, then what is?
Wow. It's really interesting to hear about how how Xana started staying with Ethan in the summer and how close they were and how she was being accepted by their family. And then, then she moves into that house. Is just one of those, turns in life that you don't expect the worst to happen, right? I mean, how can you know that this is the house where a murderous stalker is looking to find a place to kill? That, this is my personal why on him, is that he had murder inside of him and he was just going to do it. And he was going to, he was studying criminology to figure out how to get away with it. He was fascinated with serial killers. He wanted to be one of them. He wanted to feel what it felt like to kill people. And he developed a way of zeroing in on people that he felt deserved it. In his mind, these girls deserved it, or at least this, especially the one he was targeting, which appears maybe to be Kaylee at this point. But also a boy after my own heart. I was really big into beach volleyball when I was a lot younger. So I understand that need to be on the volleyball court and go out on the water. I completely get it. So
yeah, my son plays competitive volleyball now, and he's 27, but he became obsessed with it, and it's really cool. Anyway,
it's a great sport.
Yeah,
it's a great sport. I love volleyball. Okay, chapter 11, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, July 31st, 2022. The room is spinning, like it often does when Xana has had too many White Claws, which she has today out on the lake. She falls flat on her face, feels the pain immediately. She looks in the mirror. She's chipped her front tooth. Damn. She turns to Emily. She's upset, and not because it's going to cost money to fix a tooth. I don't want to be this person anymore, she tells her understanding friend. Xana is well aware of her reputation as the free-spirited girl in their core friend group. Xana and Ethan, Emily Hunter Johnson, Josie, Lyndon, Peter, Elgoriaga, and Ethan's triplet siblings, Hunter and Maisie. But she wants to change that. Xana wants to grow up. She wants to be someone who fits into the world of Ethan and his parents. The Chapin family is fun, easygoing, but as Xana has seen, their life is different from her hard-scrabble existence in her dad's basement.
At Priest Lake, the Chapins all play golf on the local course. Xana has never played golf, but the Chapin triplets are really good. They love it, like they love all sports. When Xana first joined them on the course, she found that hitting a golf ball was harder than it looked. Out of mockery for their passion, she threw a club, then took a swig of her drink. Everyone laughed. As Karen Allant, Mama Karen, has noticed, Xana is someone who is prepared to make a total fool of herself in public if it will put someone else at ease. But Xana doesn't want to be the butt of everyone's jokes forever. She never thought about the future before, but now she does. She wants to become a person who is taken more seriously, and she wants to grow old with Ethan.
Wow. Every person gets to that point at some point in their life, right? Hey, I'm done being a fool. I'm done being, making myself the laughing stock. I'm going to grow up now. She was just growing into her maturity, right?
Right.
And by the way, welcome everybody coming in. Thanks for being here. Remember to hit the thumbs up if Nightbot hasn't reminded you yet. All right, chapter 12, Moscow, Idaho, June 2022. Maddie can hardly believe it when Kaylee walks through the front door of 1122 King Road. She's pulled it off. Their freshman year bid day, when the best friends were accepted by different sororities, feels like a distant dream. Here they are, in their senior year, finally getting to live together. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Maddie walks to the car and starts helping Kaylee unload boxes and boxes of her stuff. Everyone knows that Kaylee doesn't travel light. She hauls a bag through the sliding glass doors at the back and into her new room. Everyone also knows which room is Maddie's. She's put the letters of her name in the window. Oh, I didn't know that. And her signature pink cowboy hat cowboy boots sit on the sill. Maddie's vanity is just behind. When it's dark and her lights are on, anyone walking by can see her putting on her mascara. Maddie took over the King Road lease from graduating Pi-Fi's, and she's pulled together a great group, her family away from a family.
Perfect for a year of transition, which is what it's going to be. Jake graduated and is back home in Boise, but their plan is to make it through this year together, long distance. They speak every night at 8. Maddie has been meticulous about keeping the appointment a source of amusement for her new roommates, who are now all moved in. Xana has taken a room on the main level. Of course, Maddie invited Emily too, because Xana and Emily are almost as inseparable as Xana and Ethan, but Emily had already made plans to room with Josie, her childhood friend from Boise, next door at the Whites, the building where her boyfriend, Hunter Johnson, has also rented an apartment. So 1122 King Road's other 2 rooms went to 2 blonde Pi-Phi sophomores who finagled a way to move out of their sorority house. Dylan Mortensen, who is Emily's little, and Bethany Funk, Maddie's little. Maddie bangs on each of their doors. Xana, Dylan, Bethany, she yells, photo time. They groan, but accept their fate, and the 5 women in their skimpy, summery dresses gather on the King Road deck. Maddie hands Ethan the camera. They pose, squinting into the afternoon sun. Dylan, Xana, Bethany, Kaylee, Maddie. Meet the roommates. Maddie captions the photo, and she makes the post public, as she always does. She doesn't think of any risks associated with that. Why would she? The more followers you have, the better for your career in marketing. Maddie's life in this moment, here and now, is pretty much perfect and going exactly where she wants it to.
Okay, continuing. Chapter 13, Moscow, Idaho, Emily's Dream. The following scene, a recurring nightmare, is what Emily later says after she lost her friends before justice has brought closure, she imagines could have happened that summer. The details of the surroundings change from dream to dream, but the gist of what happened stays the same. It's the only explanation she can come up with, the only one that makes any sense. It haunts her day and night because the uncertainty of whether it's real or not real will never go away. Maddie wipes down the table and turns to get fresh cutlery to seat the new customers. As jobs go, waitressing at the Mad Greek is a pretty good gig. The 40-seat restaurant with a vegan-friendly menu isn't one of the more popular ones in Moscow, so servers, all college kids, friends, don't get run off their feet. Maddie's grateful for the pay. She can make as much as $80 per shift, which covers her gas and her Ulta card and the trendy clothes she likes so much.
And there's the added bonus that the manager asked her to redo the restaurant's website. Maddie continues laying the table. Then she turns and notices him, unusual looking, intense, bulging eyes, thin, almost emaciated, and pale, almost ghost white. He's raising his hand. He wants her attention. She smooths her skirt and walks over with a smile. He orders a vegan pizza to go. He's staring at her intently. Maddie is used to male attention, but this time it feels uncomfortable. I'm Bryan, he says. What's your name? Maddie hesitates and tells him. Why wouldn't she? Everyone here knows it. She hands him the check and, as he pays, he asks, would you like to go out sometime? This is an easy one, Maddie thinks. The idea of going out with this strange-looking guy is surreal. He doesn't know it took Jake, her boyfriend, a whole 2 years to become her boyfriend. Maddie is anything but easy, even for guys she likes, and she doesn't know or like this one. She flicks back her hair. No, she says. She smiles, laughs a bit. It's a nervous habit she has, especially with guys she turns down. She doesn't mean anything rude by it. But this guy looks at her strangely, like he doesn't believe what he's hearing. He gets up slowly, still staring at her, and walks out. Oof.
Maddie shakes her head and goes about her business. She doesn't give the guy another thought. She doesn't see the guy walk to his car, a white Hyundai Elantra, sit in the driver's seat and type her name into his phone. Her Instagram with the photos of her past and present are there for all to see. Maddie in a bikini, Maddie with her roommates, Maddie and her friends posing in skimpy clothes for a fit check before a night out. Maddie, Maddie, Maddie. He looks, he presses like once, twice, 3 times, and he looks and likes some more. So that was a fantasy that this Emily was having, right? That she thinks that that's my understanding of the way that was teed up for us, is that this isn't definite. This is a fantasy that she thinks could have been something that happened. That he went to that restaurant because he's a vegan. There's not very many vegan restaurants in town. And, he tries to ask out a pretty girl from the vegan restaurant. She says no. And now he has his target. I think that's what is attempting to be said here. And saying that, also saying that when young people and college age girls who are very, very attractive continually put and innocently, and they're not doing anything wrong by putting, their images on Instagram and showing where they live and showing who they hang out with, make it possible. They're not encouraging it. There's no fault of their own, but people like Bryan will fixate on that, especially if they've been rejected. Right. So that I feel like, honestly, it's a very plausible situation that happened. I thought that all along, but I wasn't sure if it was Maddie. It was Maddie and Xana, I believe it was, who were working at that restaurant, not Maddie and Kaylee. So it's possible, when you think about the actual injuries that the kids had, the one who had the most injuries related to just seething anger was Kaylee. So maybe when he came to Maddie, he saw Kaylee in bed with her, his anger came out toward Kaylee because he thought they were lovers. That's a possibility in my mind. It's just, I'm trying to understand why Maddie could have possibly have been the target, but Kaylee's the one that ends up with the most injuries on her face, right? Do you anything you want to add?
No, I agree with you. I think it may have been, he was definitely obsessed with Maddie. And I think in the book earlier, it said something about her window was open. You could see in at night if she was putting on her makeup and her pink boots were in the window. So it occurs to me that, he had been stalking for a while. And that Kaylee was just in the way.
Yep.
When he made his move.
Yeah.
And she probably fought him, which is, the other thing, right? So his rage, he took his rage out on her for sure.
It sounds to me like they all had some measure of defensive wounds.
Yes.
It sounds to me like Xana literally grabbed the knife.
Right.
The actual blade of the knife, trying to defend herself.
Right.
Oh my God. That's possible, Bubbles. That's very possible. That I was thinking that too. He was planning to SA Maddie, but then Kaylee was there.
Right.
Oh God, it's just so sick. Happy shopping, Rowena. Happy shopping and happy trip. Okay. I think it's my turn to read, right?
Yes, it's you. Yes.
Chapter 14, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, September 2022. Kaylee stares at the guy on the couch incredulously. Did he really just say that? Bitch, go make me a quesadilla. Wow. She wishes she weren't at his house on this awful date. She wishes that she hadn't broken up with Sweet Jack. Maybe she'd been too hasty. Kaylee has erased him from nearly all her social media posts, normal protocol when couples break up. But now she's wondering if Jack might be the nicest guy on the planet. And if most other guys are assholes like this one in front of her. Jack would never have used the B word. She'll later tell her older sister, Olivia. Never. He couldn't even be mean or distant after she broke up with him. If he felt any pain or animosity, he didn't show it. He's just kind, sweet, gentle. He still swings by the King Roadhouse every few days to pick up Murphy, their golden doodle. You there? Cinnamon. Uh-oh, I lost Cinnamon. Come back, Cinnamon. Come back, Cinnamon girl. Thank you very much, catering wench. I like knowing more about the kids too. Getting their backstories. Oh, there she is. Yay. I was just about to text her and be like, you okay, girl?
Sorry about that. I got kicked out for some reason.
Wasn't me.
Okay.
I didn't do it. I didn't
All right.
do it.
Am I up?
Yes, you're up.
Okay.
Here you go.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right. She texts him about Murphy, telling him she's coming over with the dog or she needs him to come get their pet. But she's never sure if she's reaching out for Murphy or herself. The truth of it is, Kaylee still loves Jack. She didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want to part from him. She just wanted a chance to discover herself, to break ties before leaving for a new town in a new state. Kaylee's internship with Extreme Networks, the IT company in Austin, has turned into a full-time job that now squeezes around her classes. In January, she's headed to Texas to work there on site. She's rightfully proud of her role as a channel manager, which means she comes in after the IT equipment has been sold to a business and explains to the customer how best to use it. She's particularly proud of a winning pitch she made to Coffee Box about where to install Wi-Fi in their stores so customers can easily order on their phones while standing in line. She made a 10-minute video, and despite her lack of experience, the video was singled out by her bosses and sent company-wide. Kaylee keeps impressing me. Paul Seamack, the head of sales for the Americas, emailed his executive team, and he included a link to the video presentation Kaylee had made and worked her ass off to get right. Every morning this summer, she's had a preparatory remote session with Olivia, a project manager who lives in LA and buys real estate with an eye to renting the properties out on Airbnb. Olivia is wicked smart and she's talented with tech. And after Kaylee goes back and forth with Olivia, she checks the lingo with her dad, Steve, whose entire career has been in IT support.
So now she looks at the jerk in front of her who just called her a bitch and told her to make him a quesadilla. No one pushes Kaylee around like that. Fuck no. What an asshole. Sorry. Especially not a guy in a state she's leaving. Kaylee is an independent woman. She makes good money from Extreme Networks and from her trips at La Casa Lopez, a Mexican joint in Moscow. And she spends her own money, $300 a week, on the gym and meal plans. She knows she's looking her best right now. Kaylee doesn't like this guy. She doesn't need any guy except maybe Jack, who she's going to phone when she gets home. She's going to phone Olivia too and tell her that. She looks at this dude one more time. What a prick. You can make your own quesadillas. She gets up, she grabs her purse, and she walks out. On the drive home, she looks forward to the weekend back on campus and reenacting this scene for her new roomies. She can already see Xana roaring with laughter and Maddie Riley throwing her hands in the air. Yes, she thinks, they will have plenty to say about it when she tells them. Kaylee, they'll cry, pretending to be exasperated. Why is there always so much drama around you? I just want to say, so both Cinnamon Girl and I have long careers in marketing. And I can see from just that story there that Kaylee was going to be a fucking force to contend with. That if she's already making that much in college and doing that well in college with her videos and doing that well, I mean, the sky was going to be the limit.
Yeah, super ambitious. Yeah, full of talent.
And you could tell she's just perfect, like just perfect for sales, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So she had an incredibly bright future ahead of her. You can see, because you can take marketing anywhere, y'all.
Absolutely.
You can take marketing anywhere. Usually you need to get, immersed into a field to know how to market it, but you can get immersed in practically any field that you're interested in. And for me, it was tech, and for Kaylee, it was tech. So I think it's your turn to read, right?
Yes. Okay. Chapter 15, Moscow, Idaho, September 1st, 2022. Xana is waiting in her dark blue Honda for Karen, Emily's mom, at the little airstrip that is Pullman Moscow Regional Airport. She's excited. She wants to show off her progress to the woman she considers the mom she never had. Oh, it's just a 10-minute trip to Xana's new place. Xana shows Karen her room on the main level of 1122 King Road. Karen admires the bedding, which now matches. Xana says she saved money this summer and opened a bank account, something Emily joked she'd never do. At Maddie's suggestion, she joined the staff at the Mad Greek and makes $80 or so a shift. She shows Karen the wall mirror she bought with some of her earnings. Karen is proud of Xana, who is beaming. She tells Karen she loves her new roomies. But it's a bittersweet moment because for the first time in 3 years, Emily is living separately from Xana, albeit not far away, just across the street from where Emily is rooming with Josie at the Whites. Xana still sees Emily every day, and Karen heads over there now.
Later that evening, Xana and Ethan drop by Emily's apartment, as they always do after a long day, to decompress and gossip. Karen is in her PJs. She recalled Ethan sits down on the corner of Emily's sectional couch, and instead of sitting on the couch, Xana sits on top of him. She snuggles. She's happy. And she's telling us all about her day and what they did. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Who said this? Everything. Karen couldn't look away from the comic visual of the effervescent, gesticulating woman sitting on top of her patient boyfriend. It was like a sketch out of Saturday Night Live. Karen said, finally, he says, geez, woman, stop wiggling. And she just throws her head back and laughs like she normally does and just goes on. Doesn't even miss the beat. It doesn't even faze her at all. She just keeps wiggling and talking. She laughs at him and he just laughs back, and he just continues to let her sit there and wiggle all over him, even though he is so uncomfortable, obviously. But he is so patient with her and he adores her. The bottom line was clear, not just to Karen, but to Emily, Hunter Johnson, Josie, and Lyndon, all of whom were assembled in the room that night. Ethan would rather have Xana wiggling on his lap than be sitting anywhere else. Your turn.
Chapter 16, Moscow, Idaho, October 27th, 2022. After the roommates have a rare dinner at home together, Kaylee brings them into the living room. It's time, says Kaylee, to memorialize our group in our house on TikTok. Their house on 1122 King Road has become, on their watch, a UI fixture. It might not surpass the Shark Tank's legendary reputation as a party house, but it's still a place where people want to come, relax, have a drink, usually a shot offered by Xana and Ethan, and kick back. The view through the sliding doors is perfect for stargazing. You can stare at the trees and down the winding road for an ever-present reminder that there's another world called reality beyond the college bubble. In just a few weeks, Kaylee will graduate and leave to begin her new journey in the real world. In anticipation of Thanksgiving, when Olivia will be back, she's spending most of her time in Rathdrum and taking many of her classes remotely. They come up with a commemorative screenplay, the roommates pretending to be each other.
It's like charades with clues drawn from invented scenes that highlight each friend's character. Ready, go, says Kaylee. First up is Maddie pretending to be Kaylee. She stomps up the stairs and complains of a dank smell. Murphy, you've been a bad boy. She pretends to chastise the dog for pooping indoors. Next is Xana pretending to be Dylan. She comes out of her room, backpack on, flustered. Fuck! It's 9:10. Guys, can anyone drive me to class? I'm fucking late for my meeting. I was supposed to be there 10 minutes ago. Next, Kaylee pretends to be Xana. She anxiously grabs a broom and starts to sweep frantically. Did anyone do their chores today? She doesn't wait for an answer. Ugh, I'm just going to do it. Next up is Bethany pretending to be Maddie. Shit, you guys, it's 8. Gotta go. Jake's calling. She stands up from the couch where they're all sitting and heads for the door, repeating, Jake's calling. Next up is Josie, standing in for Dylan, pretending to be Bethany. She looks at the photo of herself on her phone and grimaces, oh my God, you look horrid. Xana is now Dylan. She cuddles up to Murphy before realizing the dog smells rank. Oh my God, Murphy, you are so cute. And then putting the dog down, she exclaims, oh my God, you've got to get out of here. You've seriously got to get out of here. Now Bethany is Kaylee. She reads a text in front of the group. Hey guys, I know I talk about myself a lot, but seriously, what would you guys do in this situation?
Now Maddie is Xana, headed downstairs. I've got to go do a test, she says. I failed 2 of them already. And now Maddie is Bethany. Is anyone doing a wine night? Let's just do a wine night. Dylan being Xana. Dude, is it okay if I throw a party? Just 3 or 4 people at most? They do several takes and several edits before declaring themselves happy with the video that Kaylee then posts. Whatever happens in the future, she'll always have this to hold on to. This picture of this house and the 5 of them in it.
That was a really good, I'm glad they added that to the book because you really get a sense of these
the personalities and the dynamic between them.
Yeah, their personalities and how playful they were, and they were just
funny.
Girls.
Yeah, I know.
Anne says, agree with book. I don't think it was a party house. Those are usually guys in complete chaos 24/7. I think this was just a fun social house, home to 5 girls who respected fully themselves. I totally agree, Anne. There are party houses all over college campuses, and the parties take on different degrees, and it may have been a house where they had parties, but it wasn't, like it wasn't like Central Station or anything like that. Grand Central Station. They were just being normal kids. All right. Chapter 17, Moscow, Idaho, November 5th, 2022. Getting closer to the day. The week after the Chapin triplets celebrate their 20th birthdays, it's family weekend at the University of Idaho. Stacy and Jim Chapin are in Moscow buying their kids mimosas for breakfast. The 3 are still as close as they were growing up. Xana is excited for them to meet her dad, Jeff, who lives in Arizona but is putting in an appearance. Stacy can see how happy Ethan is with Xana. Stacy can also see the signs that their kids are becoming independent adults. When the weekend is over, as Stacy and Jim drive away from campus, Stacy shares a realization with her husband. The Chapin triplets are maturing into giving, thoughtful people, and it's clear that they're almost ready to lead their own lives. For parents, this is a milestone, a bittersweet turning point that all parents hope and dread they'll face. Our job is done, Stacy thinks. Then she says it aloud. Our job is done. She and Jim look at each other. They grin. They high five in the car.
Our job is done.
Our job is done. I just went to my son's a couple of months ago, my son's college graduation, and my ex-husband and I, we don't talk a lot. We're not close at all, but both of us hugged and cried.
Aww.
We were like, look what we did. This awesome child, these awesome children,
It's such an achievement, such a milestone. It's a good thing to acknowledge and feel. Yeah.
Yes, and I so love that, I've heard this story before shared by Ethan's mother about how they drove away going, oh my God, we did it.
Yeah.
We had triplets, 3 kids all
Can you imagine?
No, I could
putting
not.
3 through college at the same time. Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
And they're like, we did it. We did it. And then like just days later, 2 weeks later, for what happened to happen is just, I'd like to die. I would just like to die after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 18, Moscow, Idaho, Friday, November 11th, 2022. The residents of 1122 King Road start pre-gaming at around noon for the Pi Phi formal. They have no intention of going to the official formal. That would entail a bus ride and staying sober beforehand in the sorority house. The older girls, who officially left Pi Phi the year before, wouldn't even be allowed in. The youngest, Dylan and Bethany, prematurely left the house to live off campus and are loyal to Maddie, Xana, and Emily, so they won't receive a warm welcome. It's picture time. They use a white shower curtain as a high contrast backdrop for their LBDs, little black dresses, though Xana, who likes to be different, has donned a little red dress. Maddie poses for a photo with Dylan. Then Kaylee poses with Dylan. They post both photos on Instagram. The usual gang comes over. Emily, Josie, the Chapin brothers, Peter, Lyndon, Maisie pops in, but not Hunter Johnson. He is working over at the high school. Drinks are poured. More pictures are taken.
6 p.m. They're all feeling particularly festive because tomorrow is game day. The UI football team is playing UC Davis. Out on the back deck, Maddie films a video of the Chapin brothers, Emily and Xana, shotgunning their drinks. She closes with a cameo of herself pretending to look ladylike and shocked. It's funny. The group is well on their way to getting drunk. Though the Vandals hardly ever win, game days in Moscow are local celebrations regardless of the score. Everyone flocks to the Kibbe Dome, everyone. Chief Fry is always there, so is the mayor, Art Betji. Parents with camper trailers host tailgating parties for the kids in the stadium parking lot. Tomorrow's weather forecast is bad, and the group has no access to a trailer tailgate, so the 1122 King Road roommates plan to party on campus instead of outside the stadium. Nonetheless, it's going to be fun. They take another swig of their drinks. Cheers to that. Saturday, November 12th, 2022, 8 a.m. Emily wakes up early and gets to the Dome by 8:30. She works part-time assisting UI football recruiting, which means she helps set up the stadium so that coaches can meet with visiting parents and official and unofficial recruits. She's annoyed to be separated from her friends.
She keeps getting updates on their activities in group chats. Xana is rallying the troops on campus. 11:30 a.m. Xana summons people urgently to King Road. Get over here, she texts Josie a dozen times. Xana puts her hair in two braids because Emily's not there to help her style it, and her roommates are busy getting ready. Anyone at UI knows it's essential to look good on game day. The 1122 King Road roommates take their time getting ready. They stick to tradition and drink champagne while they apply their makeup. Sexy casual is the unwritten dress code. By noon, everyone's gathered at the King Road house. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Ethan, Dylan, Bethany, Hunter, Chapin, Josie, Lyndon, Peter, and Hunter Johnson. 1:00 p.m. They move the party to the Whites, where Emily and Josie's rooms and where the Afys have an apartment. 2:00 p.m. Xana tugs at Ethan's hand and tells him to come outside. Obviously, the residents of 1122 King Road want a roommate photo. They ask Hunter Johnson to take it.
First, they arrange themselves for an all-girl photograph. Kaylee removes her Idaho sweatshirt for a sexier bare midriff look. Coquettishly, she kicks her left foot behind her. The members of the group look at her. Dylan, who has her back toward the wall of the Whites, is on one side. The others, Bethany, Maddie, Xana, hug sideways, lined up tightly. Hunter clicks away 15 times. Higher, lower, he asks. Kaylee checks, finds a decent one, and posts it to her Instagram. Now they need Hunter to take a photo with Ethan in it. The girls joke that the picture is incomplete without their honorary roommate. Landscape or vertical, Hunter Johnson asks. The answer is easy, vertical. Kaylee, now in her sweatshirt, squats down so Maddie can climb onto her shoulders. They can fit better in the frame this way, next to gentle giant Ethan. Dylan is on the left, Bethany on the right. Between them, Kaylee and Maddie hoisted high, and Ethan, who, as usual, has his arm around Xana. Hunter takes 15 shots on Kaylee's phone and hands it back to her. She texts her favorite to the group. Emily smiles when she sees it. She misses her friends already. She and Xana have hardly spent a day apart in 2 years. Kaylee forwards the photo to her mom, Christy, and to Karen Laramie, Maddie's mom. 3 p.m., the group returns to the A5 apartment where Hunter Johnson, Ethan, and Xana are watching Auburn versus Alabama, a college game they find considerably better than the one in the Kibbe Dome.
Hunter Johnson tells Xana and Ethan his sad news. He'll be leaving them at the end of the semester. As part of his graduate degree, he needs to intern in either Boise or Post Falls. But you'll come visit, Xana asks. Bummer, says Ethan. He tells Hunter to think of it not as a goodbye, but as a temporary separation. 4:00 p.m. Maybe because he's distracted, Hunter Johnson puts his phone down and forgets about it. Maddie and Dylan eye it and decide to have some fun. They pose up a storm and take dozens of selfies, imagining Hunter's surprise when he discovers them an hour or two later. 4:30 p.m. You want to come with me to the game? Hunter Johnson asks Ethan and Xana. He's going to meet Emily and bring her home when the game is over. Ethan pretends to be distressed. No one cares about the actual game, only the tailgating. I can't, he says, fake crying. I've got my sister's formal in a couple hours. Asshole, says Hunter Johnson good-naturedly. He walks out of the room having no clue it's the last time he'll see Ethan alive.
7 p.m. It's Theta's formal at the local brewery. Maisie is taking Ethan. Hunter Chapin is going with Maisie's roommate. Stacy, their mom, is so happy that the triplets are all together for Maisie's formal. She asks them to send lots of photos. She wants a full recounting of the evening. 9 p.m. Once the formal is over, Maisie's brothers try to persuade her to keep partying with them, but Maisie's tired. She asks her brothers to drop her back at the sorority house. Jim Chapin has told his sons that they always need to see Maisie home safely. The job comes with a perk. The Theta fridge normally has some pretty good sandwiches in it, and the boys get to help themselves before continuing their Saturday night. 9:30 p.m. The Chapin brothers go to the Sigma Chi fraternity house on Nez Perce Drive, across the field from 1122 King Road. Xana is there already. 10 p.m. The fraternity party is in full swing. Ethan wants his friends to enjoy it with him. Where are you? Ethan texts Hunter Johnson and Emily.
Emily is in bed asleep, exhausted after her day working at the football game. Hunter Johnson texts Ethan that he'll be over when she wakes up. He doesn't feel comfortable leaving her. Most unusually for a Saturday night, Josie and Lyndon are also home, asleep at the Whites, in Josie's bedroom next to Emily's. It's been a hard 24 hours of partying. 11 p.m. Ethan thinks about who else of his group is missing from this Sig Chi party. His sister. You are so lame, he texts her. He hates being separated from her. Maisie doesn't see the text until the next day, when it's too late. Sunday, November 13, 2022, 12 a.m. In downtown Moscow, Kaylee and Maddie are together, jammed inside the Corner Club, a popular bar at the size of a 3-car garage. The Corner Club is always packed, but on a game day, it's heaving. It might be a windowless box, but it's Moscow's windowless box. This is a small college town where people look out for one another. Mark Trivelpiece, the club's owner, keeps a careful eye on the customers. He's been in business too long to make rookie mistakes. Underage students like Dylan and Bethany won't pass the Moscow cops' strict protocols about IDs.
A team of kids from Greek life work the bar, discreetly watching for anyone who's getting sloppy or might need help getting home. One of them is Adam Lauda, friend, fraternity brother, and roommate of Kylie's ex, Jack. 1:20 a.m. The best friends have had enough. They're tired and hungry and more than a little inebriated. I told Adam everything, Maddie says of Kaylee's quandary with Jack. Kaylee throws up her hands, concerned that Maddie has overshared with Adam, the guy behind the bar. The friends swerve as they make the 8-minute walk to the main street where the grub truck is always parked. Food. They need food. 1:30 a.m. At the grub truck, Kaylee orders a carbonara mac and cheese for her and Maddie to share. They know the guy in the hoodie who's standing behind them, Jack Showalter. He's an occasional visitor to King Road. He's a good guy, they think. The girls flirt a little with him. Kaylee asks if he's interested in going to another party somewhere, but he's tired. Speaking of, so are they. It's been a long day. They need a ride home. Kaylee texts a designated sober driver.
1:50 a.m. Hunter Johnson texts Ethan to ask if he's still at the Sig Chai party. Emily is still asleep. 1:56 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie head back home to King Road. They chat in the living room. Dylan is in her room, wasted. Bethany is in her room, asleep. 2 a.m. Ethan responds to Hunter Johnson that he and Xana are still at Sig Chai. Approximately 2:15 a.m. Xana and Ethan return home. 2:15 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie chat on the couch a little longer and then go upstairs and collapse on Maddie's bed. Murphy, Kaylee's golden doodle, is in Kaylee's room. Kaylee often leaves him there when she's out. For the umpteenth time, Kaylee tells her friend that she's unsure about what to do about her ex, Jack DeCoeur. They start texting him. He lives only 3 doors down. Kaylee misses him. She wants him to come over. 2:26 a.m. Kaylee phones Jack. He's asleep and doesn't hear her call.
She calls a second time. She calls a third time, a fourth time, a fifth. 2:44 a.m. Kaylee calls Jack a sixth time. Then Maddie phones him 3 more times. He sleeps through all of them, blissfully unaware of the imminent danger. 2:52 a.m. Kaylee tries Jack one last time. 3 a.m. Emily wakes up at the Whites. So too do Josie and Lyndon. Josie realizes she's left her phone in her car. She goes to get it. It's foggy out, she thinks. It's dark and quiet. When she comes back, Hunter Johnson gets up and locks the door to the apartment. He doesn't know why. He's never done that before. He and Emily go to sleep. No one thinks to text Ethan or Xana. They assume everyone is asleep. In fact, Xana is awake and scrolling on TikTok. She orders DoorDash from the Jack in the Box in Pullman, the only place open at that hour. 4 a.m. Xana's food arrives. It ought to be the ordinary end of an ordinary game day.
Except for Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana, it isn't. 4:17 a.m. Dylan is in her bed, drifting in and out of a fitful post-game day sleep. The walls of her bedroom are so paper thin that earlier Dylan could hear almost everything Maddie and Kaylee and Ethan and Xana were saying as they chatted on the couch in the living room. Next thing she hears is a familiar stomping as they go up the stairs. She can dimly hear music from one of their bedrooms. But then everything turns surreal. Not sure whether she's dreaming or awake, she thinks she hears someone frantically say, "There's someone here." Huh? That doesn't seem right. And yet it also does because so many people come in and out of 1122 King Road. She gets up and opens her door a crack. Nothing. Dylan goes back to bed, but then she hears someone crying. Is it Xana? She gets up again and opens her door a fraction of an inch. She hears a male voice say, "It's okay. I'm going to help you." There's a thud, and Murphy starts to bark. Dylan shuts her door again. Is she going crazy? Now there's silence again. She opens the door a third time. That's when she sees the firefighter, or at least bleary-eyed. That's what she thinks she's seeing.
He's got bushy eyebrows. He's wearing a mask. He's holding a firefighting object, a bit like a vacuum. They make eye contact for a split second. She shuts her door and looks around for her taser. The battery is dead. Bethany? She tries calling her friend downstairs. Nothing. But then, thank God, Bethany phones her back. Dylan tells her she thinks she saw someone in black, masked. Their call lasts less than a minute. Dylan then calls Xana. No reply. She calls Kaylee. Nothing. She calls Bethany again. They speak for 41 seconds. Dylan is breathing heavily. She's terrified. Has she gone crazy? Is she still hallucinating? Then Bethany phones Xana. She also gets no answer. Dylan tries Maddie. Nothing. Bethany phones Ethan. Nothing. At 4:22 a.m., Dylan texts Bethany the tragically obvious. No one is answering, and then, "I'm really confused."
Right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. She texts Kaylee again. "Kaylee, what's going on?" There is still no reply. On the lower level, Bethany switches to Snap and then back again to text message. She texts Dylan, "Yeah, dude, what WTF?" And then Xana was wearing all black. It's a question, not a statement.
Dylan replies to Bethany's text, to the former, I'm freaking out right now. And to the latter, no, it's like ski mask almost. Bethany writes back, shut the fuck up. Actually, Dylan's fingers trip on the keys as she types, like he has something big over his head and a little endy mouth. There's no time to fix typos. Bethany, I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out. Bethany, so am I. Dylan, phone is going to die. Fuck. But Bethany tells her, come to my room. Run down here. It's 4:24 a.m. Can Dylan run? Is it safe? Dylan tries Ethan's cell phone once more. She and Bethany have another quick exchange. At 4:27, she tries Kaylee again, then Xana. Still nothing. Dylan makes a decision to run. She sprints up to Bethany's room. The two friends cling to one another. They keep trying to reach the roommates. Bethany tries Maddie twice, then Kaylee twice. Dylan texts Katie. Bethany goes on Snap and Instagram looking for clues.
Nothing. It's 4:37 a.m. Exhausted and terrified, the two girls pass out. Neither of them falls into a deep slumber. Bethany wakes at 7:30 a.m. and calls her parents, telling them both about the strange events of the night before. Maybe she tells herself Dylan just had a very bad dream. Dylan comes to around 8 a.m. and also tells herself she had a very bad dream after drinking too much. She immerses herself on Instagram for a couple of hours. The house seems quiet, calm. She agrees with Bethany. She must have hallucinated the whole thing. Around 10:23 a.m., when it should be time for the others to start waking, Dylan texts Maddie, "Are you up?" There's no reply, but that's not abnormal. Dylan dozes off again. Over an hour later, she rouses and also texts Kaylee, "Are you up?" Nothing. Now she's starting to panic again. Was it all not a dream? At 11:49 a.m., Dylan calls her classmate and Pi-Fi sister Jenna McClure and asks her to come over. Then she phones her big, Emily, who is at her apartment having breakfast with Josie, Hunter Johnson, and Lyndon. "Can you come over?" Dylan asks. Something weird happened last night. I don't really know if I was dreaming or not, but I think there was a man here and I'm really scared.
Can you come check out the house? I texted Xana and the others, but no one's answering. I'm in the basement with Bethany. Emily laughs. Dylan can get really, really drunk. This is not the first time she's heard a story like this from her little. Haha, should I bring my pepper spray? She asks. Emily gets up and goes looking for a sweatshirt. And when she comes back, she sees Hunter Johnson has already left the apartment. Hunter makes his way up the steps into the house. He heads up the stairs and sees Xana's bedroom door slightly ajar. Unusual. He opens it. He sees her lying inert, as if she's fallen backward on the floor, face up. There is blood everywhere. He takes in Ethan on the bed behind her, facing toward the wall. Hunter's heart is about to explode. He doesn't go any further into the house. He turns around, goes downstairs, and says as calmly as he can to Dylan and Bethany, "Call 911 and stay outside." He takes a breath, goes up the stairs, and heads to the kitchen across the hall from Xana's room. He opens a drawer and takes out a kitchen knife. He's terrified. He's about to re-enter Xana's room when he hears someone coming up the stairs. It's Emily. He stops her. "Emily, I don't think Xana's going to wake up," he tells his girlfriend as softly as he can.
She doesn't understand, but something in his expression chills her and she stands still, rooted to the spot. I'm going in to take their pulses," he says, knowing already that he's too late. But he goes in anyway. And after he's done that, he checks the closets for any sign of the murderer. There is none. Emily has gone downstairs. He follows and waits for the cops in the living room. Hunter says nothing to Emily or to the others who are outside. He's trying to protect these innocents from both the sight and the reality, but he already knows the horrific truth. Xana and Ethan are dead. Hunter doesn't know if Kaylee and Maddie are even in the house, but he fears the worst. The devil has been at 1122 King Road, and he has no idea why.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was a very, very heavy TikTok of events.
Yeah. I have chills right now. It's just, I mean, it really is so disturbing.
And so there's a couple things. One is I remember that it came out really early on that Kaylee had called her ex-boyfriend Jack over and over and over.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons why people targeted him.
Right.
As a suspect, because she called him and called him. And even after the police came out and said he has nothing to do with it, they still targeted him because he was in the phone records. But now we see all this. It just goes to show when you are young and you're wasted like that, and you have not been in a situation anywhere close to that. I understand, although I wish things were different. I understand all of it. I understand, and I don't blame them for all of it. They aren't the ones that killed these 4 girls. It was this man who walked into their house and did it, and there's probably not much they could have done to stop him.
Right.
I don't think they could have, even if their doors, it came out later that both of the doors were open, but nobody locks their doors in that town. And so they never felt they had the need to lock their doors in that town. So that's not surprising to me either. I mean, hopefully now people will be more cautious and lock their doors. That could have been a barrier, but I don't know if it would have been a total barrier. And that's good, Sharon, that you carry bear spray wherever you go. And says, wow, this is all new to me. I had no idea Hunter was in the house so much. I thought he just got to the top of the first floor stairs and could see Xana from there, then immediately retreated. Yeah, I didn't know that he took their pulses.
I didn't either. That was new to me too.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know, Sharon. You know what? I lived in San Francisco, so I carried pepper spray with me. But one day I went to court because I had to fight like a speeding ticket or something. and they were like, you can't go in with that pepper spray. And I was like, shit. So I put it right outside in the planter, and then I forgot to get it in the planter. But anyway, that's a total side note. This is absolutely harrowing. Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out whether we keep going or continue next week, because if we keep going, there's going to be a lot to go through. And we just got through a really harrowing part of the story.
I think it's a good place to stop and take a breath before we jump into what's going to happen next.
And I'm honestly amazed really at the composure of Hunter Johnson. He was probably in shock, but he went in there. He made sure that they were, both not breathing, and then very calmly protected the other kids that were there from seeing the same thing he did.
Yep.
And that's bravery and maturity. And, maybe it just kicked in because, the situation, but I just can't, man. And they were just living their usual college lives. They were just going through the motions. They were being wasted just like all college kids. They were ordering DoorDash at weird hours in the morning, just like college kids. I know, right? Red Sauce. I hope he's gone through a lot of therapy. I hope he's gotten all the help he needs, because that is just something you can't unsee. It's there. It's wired into your brain and your nervous system for Kingdom Come. And so he's going to have to learn how to, I don't know if you heard the Bethany's statement, victim impact statement, not Bethany. I'm sorry. Dylan. But she said in very vivid detail how traumatized she is, how she jumps at every sound, how she hides herself away, how she has an escape plan wherever she goes. And I think a lot of us, even watching people in the chat, you and I, we've had varying degrees of that same kind of hypervigilance after trauma, right?
Yes.
And but to me, what is just I always go back to and I hone in on is she's going through this tremendous trauma, and people are tearing her limb from limb on the internet. And I just can't get over it. I can't. There's
Yeah.
no indication whatsoever that she was involved, and they were treating her like she was the murderer. And then even when the murderer is caught, they can't get around the idea that somebody else wasn't involved. That's one of their justifications for continuing to, cover the case and bring conspiracy to the case. Oh, there had to have been somebody else there. No, there's no evidence whatsoever that there were two people there committing this heinous crime. He did it all by himself. Barb, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, and so do you think that, these vicious people who are targeting these, poor people, victims, are they just doing it for content and views, and the controversy just sort of, spikes it all up? And
no question.
Yeah. I mean, that's
no question. And their channels blew up over it.
Profiting over tragedy.
Red Sauce, isn't that a rude awakening? I think all of us come to, YouTube true crime because we've been interested in a particular case. For me at that moment, the reason I got sucked into YouTube true crime was because of the Shanann Watts case, Chris and Shanann Watts. But everybody comes in for different reasons, and then they start going to live streams and live chats and see how heinous people can be. And isn't it awful? Isn't it a rude awakening? Because you come in expecting that streamers are going to have the same respect for victims and respect for the judicial process and due process and all of that, and they don't. And it's and what you start to see is that they profit on people's pain, and they become pro-crime channels because they want to keep the crime going, because it gives them a lot of views and money. Right. And that's what's so sick about it. Like I couldn't live with myself if I knew that I was just dragging innocent people to make more money. And it astonishes me that there are so many people who don't care, who just don't care who they're tearing apart in a true crime scenario to get their money and views. It just kills me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's one thing to speculate. It's an entirely different thing to go on accusatory clickbait jihad. Exactly. Exactly. Right. Against real people and real feelings. It's a nasty turn in YouTube crime. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So Barb wants us to keep going, but I you know what? Let's just read a couple more chapters.
Okay. I'm good. I'm good with that.
With that? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
read
more chapters and see where it goes. But
all right.
That was fucking harrowing. Who you wrote is it my turn or your turn?
I think it's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part 2. We're in a whole other part. Inception. Chapter 19. Saylorsburg, Pennsylvania, 2013. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're getting the Bryan Kohberger backstory. I think it's a good time to stop. I'm sorry, you guys. I think this is a good break. We just read a really heavy set of, and now we're going into the Bryan Kohberger backstory, and so I just feel like this is a good point where we can start with the Bryan Kohberger backstory next week. And so I'm sorry I keep going back and forth with that.
That's okay.
I hope you'll forgive me, Barb, for not continuing on. I think this is just a good break.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate everybody being here. Oops, let me put us back on the screen. I appreciate everybody being here and your very wise and intelligent commentary in the chat. I'm going to put my donation. If you feel like donating to the channel, there's a good way to do it. I just am having Nightbot post the links. But we're going to keep doing this every weekend unless something comes up. But every weekend until we're done with the book. And thank you so much, Red Sauce. I appreciate that. And I just want to implore you, if you see a channel that is dragging true crime families and victims through the mud with no other justification than obviously to keep their channel going, just don't click on that channel anymore. Don't go look at that channel. They don't deserve what they're getting. They're conspiracy channels. They are pro-crime channels. And I'm sorry, but I can't do with pro-crime. That you're keeping the crime going because you're doing everything in your power to keep a certain storyline going for your own profit. It fucking makes me sick. So, but having said all of that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, especially you, Cinnamon Girl, for helping me come up and read.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for doing all the hard work that you do and researching and, guiding us through all this.
Oh, no problem. It's my pleasure. And, if I were a greedy mofo, I'd be posting, but I really do make videos and do this stuff for the interest of it,
Right.
And for the passion of it. And I appreciate all of you who recognize that and don't click on stupid, yeah, you know what? Catering Wrench, I started to watch that too. And I did notice that. And but I need to keep watching it. So anyway, that's it. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. And we will see you very, very soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.